So good morning, everybody. My name is Lenny St Jean. I am an associate with the Personalised Care team here at Lancashire and South Cumbria Health and Care Partnership. I'm going to be your host for the day. So welcome to our virtual conference on co-production in action. Now, I know that that countdown was actually to start our conference, but as a Leona youngest child, it felt like that countdown was just for me. And it was a great feeling. And I think everyone should have a countdown before they go into work every morning. It'll make us all feel brilliant. Just before, we've got a very packed agenda. We are starting a little bit late, so I'm not going to spend too much time in the housekeeping. I want to hand over to Talib in a second, who's our executive director. Just before I hand over to Talib, I just want to say that was a great little video. I know I made a joke about the countdown, but there was a little quote in there which I thought was absolutely amazing, and I think really sets the scene for today, which was about that community can create health far greater than any clinician or hospital can. And I think that's a really great theme for us to be thinking about, and sets the scene for what all our guest speakers are going to be talking about today. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Talib Yaseen, who is our Executive Director for Transformation at Lancashire and South Cumbria Health and Care Partnership. Talib.
Thanks, Lenny, and good morning to everyone who's joined the conference. I know there may be other colleagues who are going to join us later. I thought the hiccup in the video was probably quite a good example of what co-production means. It doesn't always go as you think it's going to go. It's not always smooth, and it can be really challenging for everyone. Probably more challenging for professionals, I think, than for ourselves as residents and members of communities and different groups, in actual fact. I am really delighted to be here, and I'm looking forward to learning as much from the great speakers that we've got on this morning, and taking that back into the work that we do in the integrated care system. And you'll know we're going through this big thing called system reform. For those of us who've been around the block a long time, we seem to do this, changing the way we configure things about every 10 years. I'm not necessarily certain it leads us to the promised land, but we're in the middle of it. And the last 2 years has been really interesting. I think we've done a lot of accelerated transformation. It hasn't worked for everyone. For example, assuming everyone can use Teams or everyone's got access to the internet, and we know what happened through the pandemic for children, for people that we serve through health and care services. It hasn't always worked perfectly for people, but I think what the pandemic has done is it's accelerated relationships. People have been in the trenches together trying to respond to a really challenging time, and I think those relationships probably were accelerated about 3 or 4, 5 years in some places, and that provides a brilliant platform for us now going forward. I mean, I'm a nurse by background, long-standing, maybe even before some of the people on this call were born, but I'm not going to give too much away. I was a cadet nurse first, and then a general nurse. And certainly from a nursing point of view, putting people at the centre of what you do is absolutely essential to brilliant care. And I think one of the great challenges in this area is we're really good at saying, this is what you can have. But actually, that's not what I want. I want this. Well, you can't have that. We're giving you this. And that's really not where we need to be. And I often say on lots of calls, you know, whether I'm with health and care staff or members of the public, you know, it's frustrating when I feel I get a more personalised service from my Skoda dealer than I do from health and care services. And that can't be right, can it? You know, they know where I am, they know what I want, they do what they say they'll do, and I go away pretty happy on the whole. Now, I know health and care services are more complicated than that, but as a user, as a resident, that's what I actually want, someone to listen to what I want and try and then have a negotiation and a conversation, which is probably how we all lead our lives. About all months and years blend into one, I think, since the pandemic. But since the last sort of April, May, I took over being responsible and leading the work on continuing healthcare, which is a really complicated area for people who might need ongoing care needs, which are complex. Could be at home, could be in a care sector, could be through a personal health budget. And we're not really in a great place with that work, I think, in Lancashire and South Cumbria. And it's been like that for a number of years. But one of the things I was really, really committed to at the beginning of that work is we must have people with lived experience influencing every decision that we make. So through the work of Fred and the personalised care team and some of our communication colleagues, we have managed to now get a group of people with lived experience. It's not the perfect group. It's not as diverse as we need it to be, but it's a starting point. And what that has really done is massively changed the conversations at the Funded Care Board, made people listen to those stories, which are not always comfortable. And I personally met with people one-to-one on Teams in advance. And what most people do, why do you want us to come along? I think you just want to tick a box. You're not really going to listen to us. And I said, no, that absolutely is not the case. So, but I said, why don't you then come along? Why don't you just observe and see whether what we're saying is, you know, in our values, in our hearts and how we operate this meeting plays out for you. And you might decide this is not for you and you want to be involved in a special interest that you might have around funded care, which could be, for example, personal health budgets or younger people. And all of the people we've engaged with have been able to come along, not to every meeting because people lead busy lives and they have complex situations, but it's really made a fundamental difference. And I think it's absolutely the way to go forward with co-production. Have we got it right every time? No. So we get harangued all the time about acronyms and specialist language and so on and so on. But I think it's really fundamentally changing the mindset. So I think personalised care is a lens, certainly in health and care services, we've always got to look through at all times and say, could we be doing things differently? Are we engaging people so that whatever we produce, it makes sense to them? And that's challenging because we have very diverse populations. So we need to think about the whole population, but then customise to the one. So personally, I'm really committed to it. I can only give you some assurance that I think, you know, my colleagues who I work with in the integrated care system and the CCGs are equally committed to it. And the great thing about working with people like you on this call is you hold a mirror up to us and call things out and say, well, you say that, but you're not really doing it. So I'm not suggesting we're perfect, but we are on this journey to try and improve things. And I think it is a journey. I don't see it being done in 3 months or 6 months. But I'm really delighted to be here. I'm really looking forward to hearing all the speakers. And I know when I go into other meetings later today and next week, I'll have a different worldview than I had before I came into this meeting, because I'll know things I didn't know. And I think when you know things you didn't know, it ought to lead to a change in behaviour and approach. And that's what I'm going to take away from today. So I'm really looking forward to your contributions. I really hope you'll all, you know, stick comments and questions and queries and concerns in the chat. And I hope you'll really engage with our speakers. And I think our personalised care team are brilliant. They've had a pretty tough time over the last couple of years, as we have with lots of things. The last time we were all in a meeting together with in co-production terms, I think was 2 years ago at Preston Grasshoppers, and that's the impact of the pandemic. So look forward to this morning. Not going to say any more. And thanks, Lenny, for agreeing to chair this and bring your enthusiasm and energy to it, and really look forward to all the conversations this morning. Happy to talk to anybody after this call about what we're doing, whether it's on a one-to-one or attending a group. Just let us know via Lenny and Fred, and we're happy to support it. So welcome everybody and look forward to hearing your contributions.
Brilliant, thank you, Talib. For those of you who were on the call when we started, you'll have got a bit of a sense of who I am. We had a little bit of a 10-second countdown, which was to introduce the conference, but I thought it was a countdown for me. But one of the things I miss about not being in the real world is those round of applause. That would have ended in the real world, Talib, with a rapturous round of applause for you, which we didn't get on this occasion. But yeah, who was doing that for you. So I'm now going to just hand over to Fred Attwater. Fred is the program manager for Personalised Care, and he's just going to take us through the agenda for today.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our co-production conference today. It has been a long time in the making. It's nearly 2 years since we had our first conference plan to run at County Hall. and we've had numerous cancellations, delays, reinventions of the conference. I'd like to thank, I suppose, particularly our guest speakers and all the audience and the staff team for the work they've put into this over the last 2 years. I think we've got a really good conference today, some really exciting speakers. I will just bring up the agenda and quickly go through. So, first speaker to kick us off will be Professor Donna Hall, who currently works as the chair of Bolton NHS Foundation Trust Hospital and is also an integrated care system advisor. Donna also was very involved in the introduction and the bringing forward and making happen of the Wigan deal, which is one of those is one of those milestones, I think, in terms of co-production and how it could be done. And we're looking forward to kind of learning from the difference it's made. Coming after that, we've got questions and answers after Donna. Then we've got Holly. Holly is one of the original members of our Let's Get Personal group volunteers. Going back to when we first started 2 years ago, we had a strong co-production group for personalised care, which was set up through Lancashire County Council and NHSE, and it was probably the strongest group in England in terms of personalised care strategic co-production. And they were the group's been heavily involved in working on a lot of the national communication materials and transformation work that's been going through over the last 2 years through COVID. They've been heavily involved in that. So a big thank you to everybody on that group. We are looking forward to getting that group working on a more Lancashire-wide basis, and we've got a number of other volunteers which are coming through as well, so that will get restarted. We're then moving on to Ros, who will talk about digital co-production. Again, this is a new exciting part for us. We see digital as having a major role in how we make our systems work and how we actually talk better and involve people across our communities and get some real representation in there. So it'd be great to hear from Ros. We've got a bit of a break then at 10:55, and then we've got Kerry, who will be giving us an example of the work that's been going on with the Well, particularly in North Lancashire, which is a fantastic organisation, and I'm really looking forward to kind of sharing the work that they've done with you, and it's an inspiration to all of us. And finally, we're going to end the day with Lenny giving us a bit more information about the work we want to take forward, because today is really a renaissance for us. It's a relaunching. And we really want to kind of step up our co-production work. So we're going to share with you our next steps and then hopefully bring you all on board to work with us.